This is my gaming setup. It's spaceship themed and it's already pretty cool, but I want to take it to the next level. You know how spaceships have all those hexagon lines everywhere you look? Well, we wanted to incorporate that into these shelves so that we could also have that spaceship vibe. Now, these shelves are made from a cool IKEA hack I came up with a few years ago, and it basically involves a regular IKEA lag shelf with Masalana shelves flipped upside down and placed on the front to create this illusion of a thicker shelf. It also comes in handy for hiding cables from LED strips because you have a little cubby on the back. Anyway, Josh and I sat down to discuss how we could achieve this look right here, and well, it didn't take us very long.
Okay, so we've decided that the best way to do this is going to be to 3D print an insert that can slot in perfectly between the top and the bottom of the shelves right here, and we can deal with any seams or anything later on. That's not going to be a problem. There is one problem though. We don't have a 3D printer.
3 days later.
Now, it's all well and good buying arguably one of, if not the best consumer-grade FDM 3D printers on the market. However, the printer's not going to do all the work for us. We need to actually 3D model the insert so that we can print it. And that meant learning how to use one of the many 3D modeling programs. So with that, I took to YouTube, and after following a rather comprehensive free course, I was starting to get the hang of things.
So we managed to learn the basics of Fusion 360, at least enough to get the 3D model of the insert for the shelf, and this is what it looks like. So we've got this weird kind of like triangle rectangle shape going on. I promise when it's done it's gonna look great on the shelf, but we also added some chamfers on the edge here just to finish off that look a little bit.
Anyway, it's time to print. Now, to its credit, the X1 Carbon is one of the fastest 3D printers around, but I've come to realize that 3D printing is kind of like being starving at a restaurant and waiting for your food to arrive. You know it's coming, but you just want it to be done faster. So after what seemed like an eternity of waiting, which was actually just a few hours, it was time to see our piece of resistance. Okay, so props to the 3D printer, did an absolutely awesome job. As you can tell, it turned out very smooth, and that is partly due to the fact that we used the smooth print plate and we printed this side face down. Now this is just going to slot in between these two shelves right here, and we'll probably end up with some seams, but that's okay because we can fill and sand those later on. Now, it was at this point that we had another idea. What if we 3D printed some separators to go between each of the 3D panels to add to that compartment style cubby type thing that you also tend to find on spaceships? So back I went to Fusion 360 to whip up another design, and here's what we ended up with. It doesn't look that impressive. I mean, it's a glorified triangle, but I did put this nice little angled bit on the back so it can slot perfectly in between the 3D panels and hopefully just stay there. It was at this point that we learned about something called bed size, you know, where you can only print things the size of your 3D printer. Yeah, this thing is too big. Now, despite only owning this 3D printer for less than a day, there was only one solution. We're gonna need a bigger printer. Say hello to the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max. This thing is massive. It can print objects up to 420 by 420. Nice. Now, admittedly, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the X1 Carbon, but I mean, if you just need to print big, this is what you want. Let's print.
Okay, so here's our finished product. It looks pretty good. It doesn't look as good as the bamboo print, but that's okay. We can sand and paint it and make it look pretty. And hopefully it will fit directly into this slot right here, and it fits like a glove. So now all we need to do is print a few more of those so that we can get that compartment style that we're going for.
Now, while we were printing all the remaining shelf inserts, we needed to figure out how we were going to get this to all look like one piece, because, well, this just ain't gonna cut it. It looks kind of jank. It's also not the right color. So we needed to come up with a plan.
All right, so we decided to take the Masalana shelves off of my setup. We just felt like this would be much easier to do. Now we're gonna be using some epoxy glue to put everything together. We're gonna put some on the top and the bottom, and while that's curing, we're gonna take these big Chungus clamps that we got from Lowe's and clamp them together so that it holds and cures better. And when that is done, we'll go ahead and add the third Masalana shelf on the top as well as the other two inserts. So hopefully by the end of it, we will have a triple shelf that does not fall apart, and then we'll fill it, sand it, and paint it and make it look good.
While we'd been planning the finishing touches, our 3D printers had been working hard in the background, and with all the pieces now ready, it was time to put our plan into action.
And with the last finishing touches added, the setup was complete. Now this was a super fun project. It turned out even better than I thought it would. And don't worry, we've got lots more ideas for setup projects using the 3D printer, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Next up is a cyberpunk setup for Josh, so we will see you in the next one.